Whenever I think of German watches, the first thing that I think is very well made, beautiful, functional and legible, but sometimes boring. And that's not what I've got here. This is a micro brand from Germany. It's called the Heinrich Taucher Sport. It's not their first Rodeo. This is not their first watch. There's quite a few watches that Wolfgang has manufactured, and he sent this one out for me to have a look at. And he's asked me to give him my honest opinion. And the first thing, looking at this watch, it's a fun looking watch. I actually liked its look. I like the playfulness of the color, that 1970s orange, the design of the case, the very strong DLC coating, the fact that it comes with a Swiss movement and an on-the-fly adjustment clasp. I think, gee, he's done really, really well. But put all that aside, I've also found about 5 things that I don't like, that I think there is room for improvement. So I'm going to share with you guys this German micro brand, all of the good stuff, all of the bad stuff, and I'm keen to hear what your feedback is. Let's check it out. Let me start by saying I really like it when manufacturers go out of their way to make something a little bit different, a little bit more unique. And what I've got here has got quite a few design cues from different eras. For me, very 70s, that case, the shape. I really like the dial layout and the color combination used here. Now, it's not the only watch they make. They've actually got a few different models of this watch. This one being the DLC coated, but they've also got a stainless steel version. And I'll leave the links in the description so you guys can actually check out the rest of their watches. But we're not here for that. We're here for this today because this caught my attention, it caught my eye, and I wanted to get hands-on with it. And looking at the dimensions of this watch, coming in at 41mm with a 13.6mm height, this is a very wearable piece. The lug-to-lug distance is also a very acceptable 47.6mm. So I think design-wise he's done very well. Now that crown is a 6.8mm signed screw-down crown. It has fantastic knurling. The watch offers 200 meters of water resistance, and the total weight size to my 18cm wrist on this bracelet comes in at exactly 155 grams. And this is where some of the fun begins because the footprint is lovely. 41mm, 47.6 lug-to-lug, it's sitting great. That height at 13.6mm has been a no-brainer. The comfort on this bracelet has been superb. You see, you've got an on-the-fly adjustment. You can adjust it, tighten it, loosen it to your needs, and I like bracelets like this. I know they're not as refined or finesse as an internal on-the-fly adjustment, but I prefer something like this personally on a functional standpoint. And being German, I think that's what they've done here. Now for me, the bracelet does also raise a few question marks because being DLC coated, I think there's a little bit of firmness, or what should I say, it sticks in areas, as you can see. Now it's got a good articulation, but having screw pins on this particular unit, when I tighten them up to the standard torque, I found that I got a little bit of stiffness in this bracelet. When I loosened them up and re-tightened them so that they're just tight, the bracelet came good. So that's a little bit of a concern, something that might need some attention. But apart from that, the quality build of this bracelet, the milled clasp, the on-the-fly adjustment has been superb. And that Lion's Head crest logo is also a nice touch. Now looking at the bezel of this watch, it's a 120 click unidirectional bezel. It's got a sapphire insert, it's lume filled, and probably the best way to describe the action of this bezel, it's slightly firm with a little bit of, how can I say it, mushy settling back play. You know, I'll explain, I'll show you what I mean. So it's got a nice sound, it's nice and firm, but it settles back. In other words, if I get it onto a marker, it settles back into place. It's not going to move, but you have to go backwards slightly, as you can see, and it settles back in. So it lines up perfect, but there is that little bit of mushiness in there, which I think might need some addressing. Now looking closely at that dial layout, I really like the playfulness, the functionality, as well as some nice design cues. It's got a beautiful 1970s orange, it's vibrant, the contrast between the white and the black works really, really well. My only 2 small gripes here, that date window, it is color matched, which is lovely, but it is a little bit dark. So looking in there, because it's orange and black text, it might be a little bit difficult to see. But in saying that, it's also unobtrusive. It's out of the way. It's there when you need it, but you might have to look twice. And probably my second gripe on that dial is that minute hand. As you can see, it's quite long. Personally, I would have preferred it to be about 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeters shorter. It just seems to slightly overlap that minute track. Not a deal breaker, but making it shorter by about 1mm would have made this a slightly easier read on that minute track. Now if I turn the watch over and look at the caseback, as you can see, solid screw down caseback, and hiding behind that caseback is the Sellita SW200 Elaborate grade. And although this is a prototype, it's actually running beautifully. So in that regard, again, well done. Another hero of this watch for me is that crown. It's a 6.8mm crown, it's signed, it's screwed down, it's got fabulous knurling. I know it's not a finesse, it's refined sort of a looking crown, but I tell you what, it's functional. For a dive style watch that's meant to be used and you want to get a reassurance of a good crown, this is a good crown. Lastly, the watch features Swiss Superluminova BGW9. It seems to be nicely applied on the handset, the markers, and that bezel, and in that regard legibility has also been good. Now in this format, in the DLC coating, the watch is going to come in at €899, and in the stainless steel version it's $849. So it's not an inexpensive watch, it's quite expensive. In my eyes that's a bit pricey. But the look, the design language, it is quite unique, which I like. But you are paying for that. And lastly, I want to touch on strap changes. Look how beautiful this watch looks on a Tropic strap. Phenomenal. Not that the bracelet, there's nothing wrong with a bracelet, it's perfect. And I thought, I'll try it on this Tropic strap. Problem is, you can't. The distance between the case and the lug hole is not that great, so I couldn't squeeze one in there. It just doesn't fit. It's 20mm, but there's no depth to actually put that in. And that's a damn shame, because it would have been beautiful matching it up with straps like this. So even though this has got drilled lugs, which is fantastic, potentially doing strap changes on this might present a bit of a problem. And in hindsight, it would have been nice to actually get the stainless steel version. Now that I've got the DLC, I think that tightness in the bracelet where it gets stuck might actually be the DLC coating. I'm not quite sure. But it is also a prototype, so I'm happy to forgive it in that area. So let me know your thoughts, guys. This is the Heinrich Taucher Sport. It's been a very fun watch. You've probably seen dust and marks all over that dial in the close-ups. That's quite normal. It is a prototype. But as far as build, strength and quality, it's been assembled really well. Apart from a couple of small things like that mushy bezel, that back play, and the slight stiffness in that bracelet, I think it's a really nice offering coming out of Germany. So leave me your comments, let me know your thoughts on this particular watch. A fun, playful German dive style watch at 41mm, something for summer, something for the beach, with a nice vibrancy coming off that dial. Thanks again for watching, hit me up with your thoughts, and we'll see you all in the next video.